Help yourself.
Hey, what's up with the fancy pastry? We gotta keep the food budget down.
How many times have you gone down to your local grocery store only to find out your favorite snack was no longer on the shelves? Well, you don't have to commiserate alone. Here are the top 10 discontinued snacks Americans miss the most. Part 3.
Hey, come back, chocolate!
Keebler Magic Middles.
Oh no, that's the old Keebler's place. Let's just back away slowly.
Keebler's Magic Middles were an iconic snack from the late 1980s and were probably one of the biggest hits of the 20th century. These little shortbread cookies almost immediately became the best thing you could possibly find in your lunchbox and drove kids bananas.
You forgot your lunch. Have a good day.
They were just so good. The magic in Magic Middles came from the creamy sweet fudge filling that you simply couldn't get enough of. There was even a variation with a peanut butter crust. Needless to say, peanut butter and chocolate sounds like a real winner. Just ask Mr. Reese. They basically represented everything a cookie should be. Crispy on the outside and soft and melty in the middle. While these were widely popular and oh so divine, Keebler Magic Middles quietly disappeared from the shelves in the 1990s. Again, with little to no explanation. Low blow, Keebler, low blow.
I really Keeblered it.
Keebler Pizzarias Pizza Chips.
What are you, a Keebler elf? Did you grow up in a tree making cookies?
Pizza chips were a thing thanks to Keebler, who released the first national brand snack chip made from real pizza dough, the Pizzarias. They weren't just mere pizza-flavored corn chips with some pizza flavoring. No, they were made from real pizza dough. This basically means pizzarias were like actual pizza, only in its crunchiest form. And they really tasted like pizza too, not some fake, distant pizza flavor.
Can we order pizza?
Pizza, you just had lunch.
This was the real deal, which is why people immediately adopted these little crisps as a lunchbox favorite. Keebler released Pizzarias in 1991, and much to everyone's surprise, they did not stick around for a long time. They just mysteriously disappeared one day with no explanation. This left people in such despair that numerous petitions have made the rounds to demand justice and bring back those beloved pizza snacks. If this doesn't prove that we miss pizzarias, then what will?
As a Keebler elf, it's your job to make delicious little cookies.
Three Musketeers Truffle Crisp Bars.
One of Three Musketeers?
Based on an Australian chocolate bar called Fling, the Three Musketeers Truffle Crisp Bar was introduced to the U.S. market solely based on the raging success of its predecessor down under. Three Musketeers has been around for so long and has seen a lot of different varieties over the years, but this one might just be the one that got away. The Truffle Crisp Bars were narrow fingers and had a whipped-up chocolate truffle on a crisp layer enrobed in real milk chocolate with drizzled chocolate on top. The base was a plank of crispy and airy chocolate meringue with a light sweetness and a hint of salt and cocoa to it. They sound exquisite, don't they?
And the vending machine knocked down a Three Musketeers bar too.
Well, truth is, they really were, but that didn't stop Mars from discontinuing these decadent treats not long after they were released. It sort of makes sense since they weren't really that popular, but then again, they were so delightfully delicious. Thankfully, they didn't discontinue the Three Musketeers altogether. Just imagine the madness if that happened.
What's dessert? Bite-sized Three Musketeers.
Butterfinger BBs.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger BBs.
Butterfinger chocolate bars are a true treasure. The crunchy peanut butter core covered in milk chocolate is the perfect way to enjoy both flavors all in one little treat. But in 1992, Butterfinger changed the game. They came out with what was essentially the same bar, only in little bite-sized round balls. Butterfinger now had little offspring called Butterfinger BBs, and they were insanely addictive. Even though your hand would be covered in melted chocolate when you reached into the bag, and yes, it could get a little messy, they were still the perfect movie theater snack.
Nobody better lay a finger on my Butterfinger.
Just bring a couple of extra napkins and stop whining. Despite their fantastic taste and cuteness overload, Butterfinger BBs were discontinued in 2006. Butterfinger may have shed a tear since only 3 years later they released Butterfinger Bites to compensate, but it just wasn't the same. Why replace an already successful product with a downgraded version? We don't want to be babies, but please, we miss the BBs.
Our lives are in your hands and you have Butterfingers?
Kellogg's Eggo WAF-FULLS.
No more surprise waffles. What?
Is there anything better than stuffing something tasty full of another tasty thing? Probably not. That's why people in the early 2000s were lucky to live in a world where Kellogg's Eggo WAF-FULLS were a thing. They were basically the same frozen waffles we all know and love, but with a little bonus. They were stuffed with an out-of-this-world strawberry jam filling. And yes, they were just as good as they sound. You no longer needed to spread your jam on your waffles. It was all together in one practical breakfast. Sure, the freezer might not be the best place to get your breakfast, but with some strawberry jam, it did make it feel a little healthier, no?
Waffles! Where's my waffles?
Anyhow, healthy or not, these snacks did not reach unanimity among fans and were discontinued. Maybe it was the name that sounded a bit like awful, or maybe it was the lack of exposure. But either way, they went away as quickly as they appeared. Obviously, this decision did not sit well with everybody, and there are a bunch of waffle heads out there who are still pretty upset about the disappearance of this treat. Many are still furiously trying to get their fix by injecting strawberry jelly right into an Eggo with a syringe. Well, okay, maybe not, but we can't know for sure.
Somewhere those waffles exist.
Cheetos Twisted Puffs.
Cheetos, deliciously twisted, dangerously cheesy.
Dangerously cheesy and ridiculously yummy. Cheetos Puffs are probably one of the greatest snacks to ever exist. That was until Cheetos released a new and, dare we say, more fun version, the Twisted Puffs, in 2002. The Twisted Puffs were thicker, better, and, well, twistier than a regular puff, and were an immediate success.
I eat success for breakfast.
The texture was described as an improved version of the original, all the while keeping their delicious taste. Eating them segment by segment became one of life's little pleasures, and Twisted Puffs were on their way to the top. Sadly, in 2012, they disappeared, and our lives have never been the same since. A worried fan even wrote to the company to ask if Twisted Puffs had been discontinued, and Cheetos confirmed the bad news by responding, "We know it's a bummer, but we'll be sure to pass your note on to our Cheetos team so they know they have fans who miss the snack." Pass your note? A bummer? This was a tragedy, and we still long for them even today, almost 10 years later. The notes are now petitions, and bummer has turned to hunger for some Cheetos Twisted Puffs.
Why is there a leopard on the Cheetos bag?
Hershey's Swoops.
Superman swoops down to save her by reaching out 2 arms of steel.
In 2003, Hershey's came up with a new product that was bound to be a huge success: Swoops. When you come up with a new chocolate product, it's pretty hard to miss the mark. It is chocolate, after all, and people are already fond of it. It doesn't need any fancy packaging or a revolutionary shape, but it sure doesn't hurt when it looks like an already fan favorite, a Pringles chip.
You be eating right now. Try saying no to these salty parabolas.
Hershey's Swoops were the same size and shape of Pringles chips and flavored like some of your favorite Hershey's chocolate bars. From milk chocolate to Reese's, there was a pack for every mood. But that chocolatey experience was short-lived, as Swoops were discontinued only 3 years later in 2006. They received a lot of love, but there was one big issue that people did not seem to be able to overlook. Its taste was rather ordinary. Yes, it was unique, never seen before, and appealing to the eye, but that was about it. Swoops didn't create a big enough buzz. Sales declined and they were gone for good. No matter how underwhelming people thought Swoops were, it was still chocolate, aka still amazing, so Swoops deserved to come back.
Would you like a Hershey bar?
Oh, yes, please, Dainty.
So would I, kid, if you got one.
Nabisco Giggles Cookies.
telling me Miss Nabisco.
With today's total overexposure and overuse of emojis, Nabisco's fallen giggle cookies could definitely make an acclaimed comeback. All they would need is to be rebranded as emoji cookies and voila!
Oh, I want your cookies.
Giggles cookies were released back in the 1980s and resembled little Oreos, only with faces. The faces could be a little, let's say, creepy, but clearly not creepy enough to stop them from becoming the go-to snack for so many kids. They were made of 2 shortbread cookies with fudge and vanilla cream smothered between them. The best thing about Giggles cookies has to be the fact that they had both a vanilla and a chocolate middle. It just added even more flavor and uniqueness to them. They were fun, delicious, and a very big hit when they first hit the shelves. So why didn't they last? Well, Giggles cookies stayed on the market for a good decade until the early 1990s, but as trends come and go, the hype and excitement eventually faded until they could no longer be found anywhere. This certainly didn't make anyone happy or giggly, and people today are expressing just how much they miss them.
At least send an emoji.
Fruitopia.
I wanted to see your utopia, but now I see it as more of a Fruitopia.
If you were around during the 1990s and you hung out in movie theaters, arenas, or literally anywhere teenagers might hang out, you've probably guzzled a Fruitopia or 2 in your day. For those who haven't, they were a fresh, fruity, non-carbonated, fruit-based beverage created by the Coca-Cola Company.
Do you really want to live in a world without Coca-Cola?
With flashy bottles, kaleidoscopes of color, and some very questionable slogans like, if your mouth can't say something nice, put something nice in it, Fruitopia knew its audience well. Often referred to as a Snapple knockoff, Fruitopia was indeed created to capitalize on the success of Snapple, and quickly became a high school vending machine staple. But the brand was discontinued in the US in 2003. Mostly because it couldn't compete with Minute Maid, who was largely responsible for its demise. However, if you ever find yourself in Canada and you're a die-hard fan of Fruitopia, it will be your lucky day, as these refreshing drinks are still alive and well, and being sold in local stores. Maybe there's a way to have it imported, eh?
Are you waiting for the package you just ordered?
Maybe.
Jell-O pudding pops.
Little kids love pudding pops because they taste fantabulous.
For a very, very long time, Jell-O pudding pops were considered an ice cream staple you could look forward to as a special after-school treat. Essentially frozen pudding, pudding pops were the perfect creamy version of a popsicle and quickly became a summer go-to dessert. They were introduced in the late 1970s and lasted on the shelves for a good 14 years before Jell-O said enough and pulled them from our collective grasp. Apparently, the sales were dwindling and the pops weren't profitable anymore. Nonsense.
Made a profit yesterday, 32 cents.
How could such a delicious and original product be anything but a huge success? It was literally like eating pudding, but frozen and on a stick. I mean, that's even better than plain old pudding, no? Well, sadly, these pops are now a thing of the past, and we can't seem to let them go. Many copycats of the pudding pops have been made since their departure, but it's just not the same. However, Jell-O didn't leave us completely in a lurch. They began selling Jell-O pudding pops vanilla and chocolate mold kits, and even shared some recipes, so you can at least try to salvage some of the nostalgia. You know what they say, something is better than nothing.
I'm a unitard!
For more sweet videos, just tap or click. Show some love and click that subscribe button and ring that notification bell.